even take them into like travel and like what we do on YouTube. For a long time, there was no audience on YouTube, but I would still reach out to companies with like I would have maybe like 3 to 10,000 subscribers, and I reached out to a bunch of different companies, and a few of them were always like happy to work together in terms of like hotels or in terms of um, just travel experiences. And it was because I just came to them and I was like, hey, I can do photo, I can do video, and I can deliver these things to you. And I didn't pitch them as like an influencer. I wasn't like, I'm going to post Instagram stories of your stuff. It was more so like, I'm going to come and I'm going to do some commercial work for you while I'm there. I'm also going to be posting them, but I'm also going to like deliver you these assets. Um, I found that, like, photography did okay on its own, but when offering, like, that I'm gonna do, like, a couple now it used to be, like, a little highlight video, but now it would be just vertical reels for people. I found that that was just a lot more attractive and allowed me to kinda unlock some unique experiences that I otherwise wouldn't have. So, yeah, diversify your skill set in case weird stuff happens or you just don't like the path that you're on, 5 years down the road.
The video aspect is actually super interesting because I think this over the let's say over I don't know, broadly speaking over the last 5 years or something. I think that's it's maybe especially since the pandemic. Um, it's become more and more important for stills photographers to think about adding video to their portfolio. Um, what sort of video products would you say are the most important ones to have under your or as part of your skill set? As you
Yeah,
mentioned, vertical video.
yeah, I would say vertical is kinda what most people want, in terms of, like, businesses and all my commercial clients. That's I would say, unless they're doing, like, a commercial for TV, which is incredibly rare now, I would say that their number 1 use of video is probably vertical video for somewhere on social media. So I'd say that's why there's a demand for that. And then for wedding couples, I feel like there's still demand for the traditional horizontal, like proper film. You can't really get into vertical video as well as you can horizontal. And it's just, I guess, a lot more. We all grew up watching movies, so I feel like cinema is just in that horizontal format still. So I feel like a lot of things will remain in horizontal, but for the short term, I feel like things are vertical. So that means for like a wedding day, while I will make them that 5 minute highlight film that's going to be horizontal, there is still a pretty good chance that there's going to be some sort of vertical content that I'm going to have to build from that, whether that's a quick reel or whether that's actually something that I edit together, or it's something that I actually shoot in vertical while on site. It's a little annoying to shoot everything in horizontal and figure out how you can make it go vertical a little bit later. So it is easier to do it when you're actually in it. But yeah, I would say that's kind of my main things that I'll do that horizontal video, but I'm always making at least a reel or two. And at the end of the day, I feel like it makes a better product for my client as well. So my couples are a lot happier with some sort of video coverage and photography than they would be just with photography only.
That's actually interesting. I was going to ask you this. I've actually just realized why I just recently switched to an Nikon Z8, and basically, it's sort of they put in this feature where everything flips as soon as you start shooting vertical. You know, all the information on the back screen flips,
Yeah.
and then you can kind of flip out the screen as well. That makes perfect sense, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's our life now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I was gonna ask you how you shoot the vertical video. Because my first instinct would have been, well, I'll just shoot everything horizontal and then I'll basically re-edit it vertical afterwards. But you're actually shooting a lot of stuff vertical from the get-go. Do you do that with an iPhone or do you use how do you go about that?
I usually use my camera. For like my own personal social stuff, I'll use iPhone from time to time. But I'll just be shooting everything kind of in one camera. It becomes a lot whenever you're shooting kind of like two main formats, which would be like all your photos and then also horizontal video, and then you're also doing a vertical video on top of it. It's a lot to capture, but I would say even if like on a wedding day, if I come home with 10 vertical clips and some horizontal and also some photos, that I'm able to make something pretty good from that, for social media at least. But in terms of marketing assets, like if you're shooting at a new venue or you're trying to create something that's going to be seen by people, if you can be creating something that's vertical, it's just it has much more use and it's going to get way more eyeballs on it than something you do horizontally.
You know what interests me about what you do is that you're really able to, or you have been able to diversify your business model. across the board. I mean, from and that's also utilizing certain skill sets that you have. One is, photo and video. The other one is teaching, and that's of course where the other leg of your business is, which is the YouTube element. Was the move onto YouTube, was that like what was that driven by? Was that driven by sort of extending your existing wedding business? Or was it a thing that was a consequence of, I don't know, a financial crisis or a pandemic, or how did you get there?
Yeah, I started YouTube in 2008, so it's been like a little while. But I started it because, well, that's where I learned everything pretty much. So like over time, that's like where I learned all of my things. So it was never really a question. It was just that that's just also a thing you do in your business. So it was never really like a full intentional like I'm gonna do this YouTube thing. It was mostly just that like this is what you do when you do a business. And that might sound crazy, but it's kind of how it felt to me. It's definitely I've gone through some changes. It began more in an entertainment space and then became pretty much a travel only channel for a bit and then became a lot more wedding focused in like 2016, 2017, which is kind of where it stayed mostly still to this day. But yeah, it's kind of like it's nice that I can for the most part do whatever I would like to on that. Um, within a bound of, making sure that it's something that an audience would enjoy. But it does give me some more creative freedom, I think, than shooting a wedding because wedding day, it's gonna be very much a very specific thing. I wanna deliver exactly what my clients are looking for, but YouTube, I can play around a little bit more.
And it's really good to have that sort of creative freedom, really, when you're doing something, because I imagine. I mean, I actually I've worked at a lot of weddings as a musician, so if you think wedding band, that would have been me for some time. And so one of the things that I thought when I made the decision to get into commercial photography, one of the reasons that made me discard wedding photography in the beginning was because I just said, I'm weddinged out. I've played, I don't know, probably hundreds of, probably not thousands, but hundreds, maybe, of weddings. And I just thought, I like weddings. I don't have anything against it. I'd like the process. And obviously, it's somebody's special day. But I think, I thought at the time, I thought I'd done enough of it, seen enough of it.
Yeah,
So, let's try something
that's
else.
fair.
Um,
Yeah, I've also noticed that, in terms of, like, time frame, that usually I'm only there, like, maybe I arrive maybe 2 or 3 hours before the wedding band. But if it's a wedding band that's going on after dinner, I leave at, like, 9 o'clock. Like, 9 PM, I'm out the door, and that's, like, just when the band is coming on, so I feel like the days are a lot longer, a lot more intense, and the loadout at, like, 1 or 2 in the morning is just, like, not so fun, so I feel like the hours are better for the photography side of things and the music side of things. Maybe less energy overall on the photography side, but, um, yeah, definitely some differences, and I feel a little bit bad when the DJ is, like, there for, like, the ceremony and they're 2 hours early and, like, I'm just showing up and it's like, "Oh, you're doing, like, a 16, 18-hour day today," and I'm doing that 8-hour day, and it's a slightly better situation, I think.
I used to be jealous of the photographers when they pack up their stuff just when the band went on, and I'm thinking, "Oh, man, I'm gonna be here for another 6 hours after this." You know? Plus, then I've got to drive and, load out when you get home and all that kind of stuff. That's part of what I didn't enjoy about being in the music industry, was actually all of that, you know? Always, I used to say I'm the ideal studio musician. I like rocking up at a studio, plugging my guitar in, you know, creating stuff, and then going home. The thing I never enjoyed was the, like, loading up your car, driving to a venue, loading out, setting up on stage, waiting around forever between sound check and actual show time,
Yeah.
having to deal with drunk bandmates and audiences, not getting paid at the end of the gig, having to argue about that, then loading everything back into the car, driving home for hours, and then loading everything from the car. It's just, it's
Yeah.
i it's not as glamorous as people think it is. It's,
No, I was a drummer, so it was even less glamorous and even more
oh my
stuff
god.
to carry around.
Oh, that would be the worst. I mean, as a guitarist, I had, like, I had a number of Marshall caps and heads and stuff, so it was, but yeah, drums, I never. There was a funny scene not too long ago. I was waiting to get the tube here in London, and I was standing on the platform, and there was a guy with a double bass in front of me, and it was quite a busy time of day, and so Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.